Hello, Keith Rucker here at VintageMachinery.org. Guys, today I'm down near Santa Rosa Beach, Florida at a shop of a friend of mine, John Terry, who we'll probably get to meet a little bit later on. He's not out in the shop right now. But I'm using his big Cincinnati No. 4 milling machine today for a job on our steam Stoker engine. And this is a job that's been a long time in the coming, and I'm finally ready to get this thing done. We've got to do some milling down here in the bottom of this where we did some spray weld buildup a while back. I'll give you a close-up of this in just a minute, and you can kind of see what we've got to do. But John has this big Cincinnati milling machine that we were able to set this thing up on. It has the vertical head. This is actually the one that has a built-in vertical head that's on dovetail ways. This thing will come out. It basically has two arbors, a vertical and a horizontal arbor on it. Really, really nice machine. And it's big enough that we can do this job on. My little K&T 3H that I have is a size smaller than this machine, and it doesn't have the overhead vertical on it, so it would have been really difficult for me to do it. The head would have been down too low. So let's get in here and get started on this. So here we are looking down into the steam engine, and there's two crossheads that move in these little channels, and over the time these had gotten really rusted and pitted. This thing sat outside for many years being unused, and to build that up we use a spray welding process to actually spray some material in there. And my job today is to get all that machine back out flat, and we're going to be doing that over here on this milling machine. So I wanted to kind of just give you a quick look at that. We had done a video sometime back where we had spray welded this in. It's probably been over a year ago now, but today's the day we're going to try to get all this milled out. Let's see if we can get this Stoker engine body set up square to the machine and get ready to start doing some work. I've got the Stoker engine clamped down to the table. We got two clamps on the front here. There's actually one on the other side in the center, so we got 3 points of contact. Now the job is going to be to bump this thing around and get it where it's nice and square and everything to the machine. So there's basically 3 planes that we have to check. We need to check, I'm going to use this front face here because this is a nice machine surface that we can go, and we're going to do 2 directions, one in and out on the table, one up and down on the table. Now, because this machine is set up on 90 degrees, you're really kind of doing 2 planes at one time because they're square to one another. So when I go up and down on the front of this, that's also adjusting the height of it in this direction going in the other direction. When I do this plane across the front here, it's square like this. So we're not only getting it square across the front, but we're also getting it square in the other direction. The third plane we'll have to check will be on the inside. I don't have a good flat surface, machine surface like across the top that we could sweep to get this thing where it's in this direction square, but we can do that on the inside, and we'll do that here in just a minute. So I got my indicator set up. I've just put this whole thing up on the table. We haven't done any adjusting to it at all. We'll see how good we are, how square we are just by plopping it up on the table and eyeballing it. All right, I got my indicator set on 0. I'm about as far on that face as I can go. And let's go back here, make sure I'm going in the right direction. There we go. Using the rapids. So we're about 45 thou out right now. We'll bring it back to the other side and loosen these up. These weren't too tight already. And we need to just bump it back about a little over 20 thou. I'm just going to re-zero that. So that's the wrong way. All right, so that's about 20 thou. I'm just going to re-zero my indicator. We went the wrong way, didn't we?
Yeah.
Well, all right, I went the wrong way.
Better.
A lot better.
More better.
So we're only about 10 out now. That's pretty good. The needle jump whenever we... All right, we're within about 5 thou right now. So what I think I'm gonna do is we're gonna do another axis because all this is gonna change. I got it close. And the next one I'm gonna do is up and down. And to adjust that, we're gonna have to shim it. That's actually not bad. I'm gonna go the other direction. That's within about 2 or 3 thou, but that's actually not bad at all. All right, I'm gonna do the front to back. I'm gonna have to set up and put something on the inside and check that one. But we're close, and that's good. This is just sitting down on the table right now. So that's telling me that the machine or the Stoker is pretty true to the base of the casting, which is good. All right, guys, so to measure my final plane I want to look at, I don't have a surface that's machined on here that cuts in this axis. But what I do have is the machine tops of these pieces in here where the clamps on the top of the cross slides. Those should have all been machined at the same time and be at the same elevation. So we're just going to put a parallel across this. This is a ground parallel, and we can sweep across that and see what it looks like. I've got it set to 0, and we're going to go in with our table. And that's within 1 thou over a wider distance than we're going to be dealing with. So I think we're good in this this direction. I'm happy with that measurement. If I can get all these within 1 thou or 2, I'm happy. So again, that tells me that my feet up underneath this thing is true to the measurements on the inside. That's good. Let me go back to the front of it, and I'm going to just see if I can fine tune those real quick. All right, let's see what it looks like now. All right, we need to bump it a little bit more. Been playing with this for a little while, and first off, I want to say I noticed that if you kind of look, there's a ring around here, and on the outside of this was where a gasket was, and I noticed that when we come off of this inside and go out to where the outside is, it was dropping a couple of thou on the indicator. So I'm only measuring on the inside of that, which I think is giving me a little bit better measurement. And I've been bumping it around. Let's look and see where we're at. So we're 5 thou now. Still need to bump it in just a touch, but we're getting really, really close. All right, let me play with it a little bit more and see if we can fine tune it. All right, I've been playing with this thing probably 45 minutes now, and I've got it within 2 thousandths in every direction, which I think is as good as I can get. And part of my issue is that while this is a machine surface, it's not a perfect machine surface. There's some fluctuations in all of these surfaces that you're just going to kind of have to take averages and do some guesstimating in here. But for the tolerances necessary for this machine, I'm confident that we're within the specs of where we need to be. Again, we're within 2 thousandths in all directions. I think we're good. So I got it clamped down. Everything's nice and tight. Let's see if we can do some milling. All right, guys, I have my cutter mounted in here now, and I think we're about ready to start. What I want to do is I'm just going to kind of go right down the middle of this thing, take a light pass, see how it's going to behave, and we're just going to kind of cut the bottom out. So let me start my spindle, and we're running at, 217 RPMs. And I'm just going to carefully raise my table up here. Until we start making contact. All right, I'm barely hearing a little bit of a cut there. I have to turn the other spindle on this machine to get my table to work. I'm going to start. I'm going to come all the way out on that thing. All right, and I'm going to raise it up a little bit more. And now we're going to cut across. See what it does. Cutter's bouncing around a little bit. I'm going to back off on my cut a little bit. Now, I'm going to speed my spindle up a little bit and see if this makes any difference. Well, my fears have come true. This cutter's just not going to be rigid enough to do this. Let me back up and punt here. Well, just for fun here, we're going to try this end mill. I'm not going to be able to do the whole job with this end mill because it's just not deep enough. When we get over here into this raised area, we have interference that's going to hit. But I do want to at least see if this thing will do this job without chattering so we can come up with a better game plan. So let me start that spindle. All right, we're just barely touching there. What I'm gonna do is that's as far as I can go in that direction. Let's let it feed across here and see what it's gonna do. That seems to be cutting a lot better. We're not taking a very heavy cut yet. And we're kind of down in that area where Adam had cut with his shaper. It's just barely skimming in a couple of areas there. We're going to raise up the table now. That's as far as I can go. All right. It's going to take a few minutes to kind of get down below all this irregularities on the top, but I don't want to go too deep. This is just kind of test and see how this end mill is going to do. All right, let's come back across this and just see what's going to happen again. All right, guys, we're up to plan, I don't know, F or G, something like that, but I think we're on the right track. We've got a big end mill in here. I've got an end mill extension dropping down into the case, and that's giving me enough reach to get down here and do it. So far, it's been milling pretty good. The only problem we got is this big diameter here is not allowing me to go all the way to the front of the case. I'm about a ½ inch shy, but I can use that last end mill that we had to clean that up. So I'm probably going to have to just come in there and match it up as close as I can on that last ½ inch at the very end. We just made a pass. I'm ready to come through here. I just dropped it down some to take a little bit of a cut. We're still trying to get below the surface of this spray well, but we're about there now. But it's machining very nice. And we got enough rigidity with this setup that I think it's going to work out just fine. So anyway, we'll continue on and get down to the bottom there. We had one little area in the middle where the spray well didn't stick really well. I was afraid that was going to be an issue. We had a really hard time when we were doing this, keeping enough heat in it. But fortunately on this side, the area where we didn't get a lot of adhesion is in an area where we didn't have hardly any pitting. So I'm hoping that we're going to be all right on this side. And we'll probably just go a little bit into the cast iron, clean everything up, and hopefully we'll have a nice surface when we get done. All right, guys, we're going to continue on here. I'll bring you back a little bit later on, but this appears to be working. And John Terry, fortunately, he had this arbor extension and that big end mill in there that we're using. So it just worked out that we're using some of his tooling on this. So we are milling away in here. Appears to be doing a good job. Just taking our time. It's taken 4 passes to get across the top of that. And we're just kind of up feeding a little bit deeper each time and working our way below this layer. It's actually machining really well, and except for this little area kind of right in here, it seems like it has adhered pretty good. But again, that little one area isn't a critical area, at least on this side, so I'm hoping this is going to be a good solution for us. Our problem is when this comes all the way up to the front, you know, we got this really large diameter and it's hitting this front edge, and so we're not able to get all the way out to the front. We're probably, I don't know, a ½ inch in the back side of that radius. The cutter's actually clear in the front, barely, but we're gonna have to go in there and clean that up at the very end, and like I said, I'll just use that other end mill to do that. But it looks like it's working. I think we're gonna be able to do it. It's just gonna take us a while to get there. Slow and easy. Well, we are on the other side now, and I'm just kind of hitting the high spots. You can see we're touching right down in here, but that's about the only place. But I'm just going back and forth with this uneven surface on the top. I'm just finding it easier to take your time and take a little bit off and not get into trouble someplace by trying to hog too much off. So we're going to continue on, and hopefully this side will turn out as good as the other side looks. I think the other side is going to work just fine. We'll give you an update on that in a little while, but making progress. Well, guys, let me give you an update of where we are on this project. I'm going to call this whole thing today a partial success, but not a complete success. I'm not finished with the job, but I'm to the point where I know we can finish the job. I just need to go back and kind of reevaluate some things and approach this from a slightly different direction. So recap, the carbide insert end mill didn't work, just too much shatter. I was afraid of this. You guys out there, I said it when I built this thing that I was really concerned that this wasn't gonna work. Honestly, I thought it would, but we just got too much chatter on this thing. We just need a bigger diameter shaft to support this end mill. But because of the space limitations in here, this is as big as a shaft we can go with. You know, so the next plan was to go with the end mill, and I had this 1-inch end mill, and it was long enough to get down in the front of the casting and do it, but because of these little raised up pieces in the back, I couldn't get all the way back there in the back. But with this cutter, it cut just fine. And it's gonna allow us to get up in the front and do it like we need to. But what I really needed was either a cutter that's a little bit longer or an extended reach end mill holder, kind of like this one that drops down in there. This one is an 1.25 inch end mill. 1 inch wouldn't fit it. So we ended up, for the most part, using this 1¼ inch end mill, using this our extended reach end mill holder. Unfortunately, with this setup, we didn't have enough length of the 1 inch diameter to clear the very front. If I'd have had this longer end mill in there, we would have been able to do it. But this end mill, it cut great. It did a good job. We got one side, I'm gonna say 95% done. I still need to go in there and clean up that front and probably just do a good final pass on everything at the same levels with the proper end mill. I got probably 1/3 of the way through on the other side, and this end mill has just dulled out to the point where it's just not cutting like it needs to. It's still cutting, but it's really ripping more than cutting. I decided to stop, and unfortunately, I'm gonna have to make another trip back over here. So here's the game plan going forward. So what I've done is I've talked with a friend of mine that works at MSC, and he has sourced me an end mill pretty much like this one, except it's an 1¼ inch diameter, which will fit into this extended reach holder. And that is going to solve all the problems. At least I think it will. So I've got a couple of those on order right now. And when those come in, I'm gonna have to make another trip back down here and finish this job. I gotta talk to John, he's not in the shop. I'm gonna see if I can just leave this set up on the machine. I'm pretty sure that that's gonna be okay. If not, I can reset this up when I come. Now that I've done it, it's not that big of a deal to bump it around and get it back in there. But it's been a good learning experience. This is one of those things where you just kind of have to get in there and try some things and see what works, and then come up with a game plan. We're gonna be able to get this job done. I've got a lot of it done already, but we're just gonna have to finish it up with slightly different tooling than what I've got on hands right now. Let me show you in here where we're at, so you kind of see where we dropped off at, and I wanna make a couple of comments about some things in there as well. So first off, here is the first side that we did, and you know, all in all, it looks great. Now, one thing I wanted to comment on here is the spray welding. You can kind of see up in the front here, the little change in coloration. This is where the spray welding is in there. One thing that I'm real happy about, one thing that I was really concerned about was this spray welding gonna stick? And it has. I'm gonna have to go just a little bit deeper than this. This is not the final pass, but the majority of the spray welding by all means stuck on this side. And based on my milling on the other side, I think that this is in good shape too. So here's the problem. Got the shadow in there, but up in the very front, you can see we weren't able to get out all the way to the front here with that extended reach. It was hitting right here, was not allowing us to get up far enough, but with the proper end mill, we'll be able to clean that up just fine. So here's the other side over here, and this side was going good, but like I said, we got, I'm gonna say 1/3 of the way into it, and my cutter just finally got so dull that it just wasn't cutting, and I tried using a different cutter, that didn't work either. So we're gonna get the right cutter in here for that, and again, I think we're gonna be set to go. But again, the good news is the spray welding appears to be doing the trick. We're not done with either one of these by any means, but I'm confident that when we're done with this, we're gonna have a usable set of journals in here, or whatever you want to call the surfaces in here for that babbited crosshead to work in. Well, there you go, guys. That is going to be a wrap for today, and we're going to finish this up. I don't know when I'm going to be able to get back down here to Florida to do this. I'm leaving in this coming week and headed out to California to the Bardsley Summer Bash, and then to Wyoming for my daughter's wedding. So I'm about to be on the road for a couple of weeks straight. When I get back home, I should have everything I need to come finish this job. So it's just gonna be a matter of me figuring out when I can take another weekend to come down here to John's shop and work it out with him and everybody else. Like I said, I think we've got the bulk of the work done. It's just finishing this thing up and having the right tools and tooling to do it. And like I said before, this has been a good learning experience. I knew that this was going to be a challenge going into it. This Stoker engine has got several challenges ahead that's going to probably take a couple of iterations to get it all figured out. But for me, that's half the fun, is coming up with a solution to these problems and figuring out what will work. And guys, when plan A doesn't work, figure out plan B, and when plan B doesn't work, go to plan C. I think, like we said, we're up to plan D or E on this project so far, but we're going to get there. Guys, with that, that is going to be a wrap. As always, thank you for watching. Please do subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Thumbs up, comments are appreciated, and hit that bell icon to get the notifications when new videos are posted. And guys, we'll catch you on the next video. Again, thanks for watching.